So, I am M. Muttumari, the Associate Professor of Botany. In this lecture, I wish to discuss about the pollination and fertilization. So, almost in all plants, the various types of processes like the absorption of mineral as well as water from the soil, as well as transport of the water and minerals to various parts of the plants, and the transpiration of the excess water, then photosynthesis, translocation of organic solutes which are synthesized in leaves to various parts of the plants, then respiration in order to relieve the energy present in the organic solutes, then photoperiodism, that is related to the light and temperature to which the particular plants are being exposed, and then the vernalization, that is about the chilling treatment to various parts of the plants. In addition to all these processes, the two processes, that is the pollination and fertilization, these both are very important in the sense they help the plants to set the fruits. When we say fruits, it may be either in the form of a dry fruit or it may be in the form of a fleshy fruits. So, inside the fruits that we have seeds. So, we know very well about all this. So, for the presence of the fruit, the two processes, that is the pollination and fertilization, both are very essential. And in this we are discussing about only the pollination and fertilization happens in angiosperms. And we know very well angiosperms are the highly advanced group of plants when comparing to algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes and gymnosperms. And only in angiosperms the flowers are present. So, we may consider that flower as the symbol of angiosperms. And if you take a flower, it is normally considered as the reproductive unit. All the flowers are normally considered as the reproductive unit. And also theoretically it is known as modified vegetative shoot, because these parts are the vegetative part, and in this vegetative part we have the shoot system. So, in this we have the main stem, then we have leaves, and from the angle of the leaves usually we may see the presence of a flower. So, this flower is considered as a modified part of the vegetative shoot, and also it is made up of the four parts like calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. So, these are all the four parts of any flower, particularly a complete flower. And also a complete flower is nothing but wherever the calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium are present. In the case of incomplete flower, any one of the whorls, particularly either calyx or corolla is absent, or in some plants like unisexual flowers, either androecium or gynoecium only present. So, based on that we can classify the plants into either a complete flower or an incomplete flower. And we know very well what are the various parts. Say for example, this part is usually greenish in color. So, this is the outermost whorl, that is called as what? Calyx. So, the calyx is made up of sepal. The individual unit of calyx is known as what? Sepal. And then we have the brightly colored part of a flower. So, it may be in various colors, and the complete whorl is known as the corolla, and the individual unit of the corolla is known as the petal. So, the individual unit is known as the petal. And next to these two, then we have at the very center of a flower, that is the female reproductive part, that is known as gynoecium, or this gynoecium is otherwise known as pistil. There is another name for the gynoecium, that is the pistil. And on both sides of the gynoecium we can see the presence of some filament like structures, So these structures are known as the androecium. And the androecium is made up of individual units called stamen. So each stamen has a filament at the bottom, and then there is an anther at the top. Okay. So if you see the longitudinal section of a flower, we can see the presence of sepal, that is outermost wall. Next to sepal we have the petal, that is the second wall, and the third wall is normally considered as the androecium, and the fourth wall, that is the innermost wall, is known as what? The gynoecium. And this gynoecium is made up of carpel. So this entire structure is known as a carpel. And in this carpel, the basal part, that is almost a oval in shape, that is called ovary, that is known as ovary. And inside the ovary we can see the presence of an important structure called ovule. Okay, inside the ovary we can see the presence of ovule. Then at the top of the ovary we can see the presence of a filament like structure called style, and at the very top of the carpel we can see the presence of a cap like structure, whether it is maybe a branched one or unbranched one. This is known as the stigma. So this entire part is known as what? The gynoecium, that is the female reproductive part. Okay, so now I wish to put a question. So which is the third wall of a complete flower? So we know very well what is a complete flower. So all complete flowers have all these three parts, and among these three, which is the third wall? So I hope that you know the answer. So it is the androecium. If your answer is androecium, that is correct. Okay. Then we can divide the four walls into two categories for our easy understanding. So one is called the essential wall, another one is the non-essential wall. So essential, that we know very well, they are very much needed. Essential means they are very much needed. Non-essential means in their absence or presence, it is not going to affect the main process called fertilization. Okay. Then what are the essential walls? So among the four walls, the androecium, that is the male reproductive part, and the gynoecium, that is the female reproductive part. So they are going to directly involve in fertilization. So these two parts are normally known as what? Essential wall. And the androecium and the gynoecium both are protected by the calyx and the corolla. So they are not directly taking part in the fertilization. So these two parts are known as what? Non-essential walls. They are not directly involving in fertilization. However, the corolla helps to attract the pollinators. Say for example, they may attract the insects, they may attract the ants, they may attract the bat. So with the help of the pollinators, they can involve very easily in pollination. Okay. Then what is the androecium? As already I told you, it is made up of the stamens. So each stamen has a filament. So this is the filament. So and then anther. So at the top of the filament you can see anther. So this anther may be either one lobed or it may be two lobed. So that is, one lobed means it has two chambers, pollen chambers. Suppose if it is a two lobed anther means it is known as dithecus, and in that case it may have four pollen chambers. So inside the pollen chambers we can see the presence of pollen grains. And if we take the gynoecium, it is otherwise known as pistil. So it is made up of carpel. It may be either one carpel, that is monocarpellary, or maybe two, bicarpellary, tricarpellary, tetracarpellary, pentacarpellary, like that. And each carpel has an ovary at the bottom, then style at the middle, and a stigma at the top. This you can very clearly see in this particular diagram. And the calyx is made up of sepals and corolla is made up of petals. Okay, so this is the longitudinal section of a particular flower, angiosperm flower. So in this you can see the presence of the parts like peduncle. So the peduncle is normally considered as the main stalk of an inflorescence. So when you see a flower, single flower like that of the hibiscus, rosa sinensis, that is considered as a flower. But if you see the group of flowers in a particular plant, then that group of flowers are known as inflorescence. When we say inflorescence, they have a central main axis. So that axis is known as the peduncle, and the peduncle ends with a floor-like structure that is called the receptacle. So on the receptacles only we can see the presence of the sepal, petal, even the androecium as well as the gynoecium. So the sepal is, that receptacle is considered as the floor. From this particular part we can see the formation of the four whorls of a complete flower. And this diagram means this is particularly to understand about what is unicarpellate and what is apocarpus. Wherever you come across only one carpel, there is no need to talk about whether there is a union or whether they are free or whether they are fused. But wherever more than one carpel is present, the margins of those carpels may be free. In that case, it is known as what? Apocarpus. Apo means away. So they are all free. But in the case of another one called syncarpus, syncarpous, that is the syncarpus, that is the margins are fused, either at the ovary part, or it may be at the style part, or it may be at the stigma part. If any one of the parts of the carpel is fused with the nearby carpel, then that is known as what? Syncarpus ovary. Okay. So now another question, that is which part of carpel develops into seed? So which part is going to develop into seed? See, just before this, so in this particular part picture you can see here the ovule is present inside the ovary, and this ovule, from the ovule only the seed is going to be originated. So that means the ovule after fertilization is going to be converted into seed. So the seed is, we know very well, when we put a seed for germination, they will produce a new plant. Okay, so now the question is which part of the carpel develops into seed? So if you say that answer, whether it is style, stigma, ovule and ovary, and the answer is what? That is the ovule. So ovule is going to develop into a seed. Okay, then the androecium. So androecium already we know very well, it is made up of a filament as well as the anther. So this is the structure of a androecium. And the gynoecium, as we know very well, it is made up of carpel. And now we come to the main part, that is the pollination. So what is pollination? So pollination is nothing but it is the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. From the anther to the stigma. See, anther we know very well, it is the male reproductive part, and the stigma is present in the female reproductive part. So from the anther only the pollen grains are going to be formed. Okay, now the pollen grains have to transfer from the anther to the stigma of a particular flower. So then only the fertilization will happen. So before fertilization, the important act is known as what? Pollination. Okay, the pollination may be of two types in general. One is called self-pollination. That is known as what? Autogamy. So autogamy means what? That is the transfer of pollen grains from one flower to the stigma of the same flower. If it falls on the same flower, then it is known as what? This self-pollination. But there are some plants, say for example, in a plant called Camelina, Commelina, Camelina and Oxalis. So this is the diagram of that picture of that particular Oxalis. In this you can see the flower is almost in a bud condition. They are not opened. The flowers are, the calyx and the corolla are completely closed. So these flowers normally they don't open till the fertilization, till the fertilization happens. That is, in those flowers there is a chance of only self pollination. There is no chance for the another type called cross pollination. Okay, so those that flowers are known as what? Calistogamy. That process is known as what? Calistogamy. And those flowers are known as calistogamous flowers. The flowers which do not open up to the pollination, it is known as what? Calistogamous flowers. Okay, then another type of the pollination is known as what? The cross pollination or autogamy. Cross pollination or allogamy. Allogamy, allogamy. So what is this? So in this, the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower. That another flower may be either on the same plant or on a different plants of the same species. It may be either in the same plant. Say for example, if you see this diagram, so this is one particular plant, but it has two branches. Okay. So suppose if the pollen grains from this falls on the stigma of this particular plant, it is known as what? Cross pollination. It is known as the cross pollination. And even in this case, you see, so this is another separate plant. So from this also there is a chance of the pollen grains falling on the stigma of another flower. In both cases, it is known as what? The cross pollination. It is known as the cross pollination. But if this pollen grain falls on the flower of the same plant, so from here to the same flower of the same plant, then it is known as what? Self pollination. This is known as self pollination. But the pollen grains from this flower falls on another flower of a different plant, or the pollen grains from this flower falls on the same plant of another flower, that is also known as what? Cross pollination. Okay, however, it is divided into two types. One is called geitonogamy, that is between two flowers in the same plant. Between two flowers in the same plant. Say for example this one. You can take this one. So between two flowers of the same plant. Okay, this type of pollination, cross pollination, is known as what? Geitonogamy. Then the another one called xenogamy. So between two flowers in two different plants of the same species, but the species should be the same. Okay, but it may be of two different plants. Say for example, if you see this diagram, so this is one plant and this is another plant, but both are same species. Suppose if it is Hibiscus rosa sinensis, means it is also Hibiscus rosa sinensis. So in between these two plants also there is a chance for what? Pollination. This is called cross pollination, and particularly it is known as what? Xenogamy. Okay, so there is another way of cross pollination, that is called what? Hybridization. So it is between two flowers of two different species. So you have to understand, two different species. Previously we saw between same species, but now it is between two different species. Say for example, we know very well about tomato as well as the potato. So tomato and potato comes under the same genus called Lycopersicum. But tomato is Lycopersicum esculentum and potato is Lycopersicum tuberosum. That means they are all two different species, but they are all in the same genus. So suppose if you do any research or if you do any cross pollination in this, we can get a different type of plant called what? A pomato. So that is known as what? A pomato. P-O-M-A-T-O. Pomato. P-O from the potato and M-A-T-O from tomato. It is both are coined known as pomato. So that is means in the same plant we can see the presence of the potato at the bottom and the tomato at the top. So this type of pollination is also possible, but this is normally being done in greenhouses. So under the control of the plant breeders. So this is called what? Hybridization. So it is also a type of what? Cross pollination. Okay, now another question. So, which type of flowers are known as cleistogamous flowers? So, among the various types of flowers we discussed, which is the cleistogamous. So, there are 4 options, and I hope that your answer is like this, that is, flowers those do not open. Flowers those do not open. That is in the case of oxalis. So, those flowers are known as what? Cleistogamous flowers. Okay. And as already told you, in cross pollination, pollinators are very essential. Cross pollination means a transfer of pollen grains from one flower to another flower. So, when the pollen grains have to be transferred from one flower to another flower, there is a need of any agency. There is a need of external agency. So, those external agency are known as what? Pollinators. Say for example, in some plants, the water is acting as the pollinator, water. So, whenever there is a rain, for example, in the case of the orchids, the Vanda plants like that in orchids, whenever there is a flash of rain, even that raindrop helps for the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. That type of pollination is known as what? Hydrophily. Okay. And then insects may also, in some plants, insects involved in the pollination. That is known as what? Entomophily. So, the insects, even the butterfly can also move from one flower to another flower. At that time, they carry the pollen grains on their body, and that pollen grains may go and fall on the stigma of another flower. So, that type of pollination is known as what? Entomophily. And then even through birds. So, birds can also involve in the cross pollination, that is known as what? Ornithophily. That is known as ornitho, O-R-N-I-T-H-O-P-H-I-L-Y, ornithophily. And an interesting one is known as what? Through bats. So, the bat, one of the mammals that we know very well. So, they also involved in cross pollination. This is called chiroterophily, C-H-I-R-O, chiroterophily. Okay. Then another one is wherever the pollen grains are very light in weight, they can be easily carried by the wind. Whenever there is a wind, they can be easily carried out. So, this you can see in the case of even in pinus, also in gymnosperms, and also mostly in angiosperms also we come across this, that is known as what? Anemophily. Okay. So, these are all the various types of pollinators they involve in cross pollination. And now the another question is, pollination through water is known as dash. Okay. So, if your answer is hydrophily, then it is right. Okay. Then what are all the possibilities for the cross pollination? Okay. So, cross pollination means it is not only by the pollinators, because of pollinators, it is also because of some adaptations, some morphological structures present in the plant itself. So, one type of one is known as what? Unisexuality, or it is known as dicliny. So, unisexuality, that we know very well, presence of unisexual flowers. In the case of, say for example, in cocos, that is in coconut plant, you can see the male flowers and female flowers are separate. They are not in the same flower, but male flower is separate one and female flower is separate one. So, now it is known as unisexual flower. And but it may be monoecious. Those plants are known as what? Mono. There is a male and female flowers are in the same plant, but they are all in the same plant, but at different places. At different places. So, this is maybe a possibility for what? Cross pollination. So, in this case, there is no chance for self pollination. Okay. And another condition is known as what? Dichogamy. Dichogamy, that is the maturation of androecium and gynoecium at different times in bisexual flower. Though they are all bisexual, but the androecium matures first. For example, in the plants like Gossypium and Clerodendron, here the male reproductive part, that is androecium, matures first. So, at that time of the pollen formation or pollen is ready, the gynoecium is not ready to accept the pollen grains. That is what we call it as protandrous. Protandrous, where that is the androecium matures first. But at the same time, in the plants like Solanum and Mirabilis, the gynosium that matures first, that is the female part matures first, so the androecium is getting delayed. So that is known as what? Protogynous. Protogynous. So this is also another condition for the cross pollination. Then another one is known as what? Self-sterility. So that means what? The pollen has no effect on the stigma of the same flower. If the pollen grains, say for example in this plant, if the pollen grains fall on the same stigma, then there is the chance for the pollination and the fertilization is very less. But if the same pollen grain falls on the same species but another flower, that is in the nearby flower, that is the cross pollination, then the pollination percentage is going to be more. So that was noted in a plant like Abutilon as well as in Passiflora. So this is called what? A self-sterility. Self means in the same flower. Okay. Then another one is, okay, now the another question is self-sterility leads to cross-pollination. Because of self-sterility that leads to cross-pollination, whether it is true or false. So if your answer is true, then it is right. Okay. Then another point is the pollen prepotency. So this is what? The cross-pollinated pollen grains more rapidly than the self-pollinated pollen grains. So in some plants of the Fabaceae as well as in Orchidaceae, there is a chance for self-pollination, but in those flowers, if cross-pollination happens, then there is a more rapid growth of the pollen tube, so that the fertilization is going to be more effective. So that condition is known as what? A pollen prepotency. Okay, so this is the Fabaceae. Okay, stamens. One statement is flowers of pollen prepotency has no chance of self-pollination. So wherever the prepotency is present, there is no chance for self-pollination, whether it is true or false. So the answer is false. Okay, then another one is called hercogamy. So hercogamy means what? The presence of androecium and gynosium at different peculiar positions. So for example, in this plant we can see the androecium is present here, okay, but at the same time the gynosium is present at a different position. So the pollen grains are not able to fall on the stigma of this particular one. And also here you can see the stigma is at the top, but the anthers are at the bottom. They are all just below the stigma. So the anthers may not fall on the same stigma. So in those cases, what? There is a chance of what? Only the cross pollination. So the anthers may fall on another flower. There is no chance for on the same flower. This is called what? Hercogamy. Then another one is called heterostyly. So heterostyly means the presence of the androecium as well as the gynosium at different positions. That is the length of the style, the length of the filament. Okay, so based on that, it is known as what? Heterostyly, that is presence of long style and short stamen, or maybe the short stamen and long style like that. So this is noted in the plant called Oldenlandia and Oxalis. So it is also leads to what? Cross pollination. Okay, now we come to the another part, that is the fertilization. So for fertilization to happen, pollination is very essential. So without pollination, there is no chance for fertilization. So fertilization means what? The fusion of the male gamete, which are normally produced from the pollen grain in the pollen tube. So this is the pollen grain. So from the pollen grain, a pollen tube is developing. So at the final stage of this, there we can see the presence of two male cells or two male gametes, or we call it as sperms. So this sperm is going to fuse with the egg present inside the ovule. That is what we call it as fertilization. Okay, so the pollen grains of anther produce sperm, ovules of carpel produce egg. So normally we come across a word called double fertilization in the case of angiosperms. So one is known as syngamy and another one is known as a triple fusion. So syngamy means the fusion of first male gamete with the egg and forming zygote. We know very well the male gamete is haploid and the egg is also haploid, So when both are fused, we can get a zygote. That zygote is a diploid one. Okay, so among the two male gametes, one is going to fuse with the egg. Okay, what about the second male gamete? So the second male gamete is going to fuse with the central cell present in the embryo sac. So embryo sac is a structure present inside the ovule. Okay, so just to understand, the embryo sac is present in the ovule. So in this embryo sac, we come across a word called, a particular part called the egg. So with this egg, but for the triple fusion, the central cell. So with the central cell, the second male gamete is going to fuse, and that is going to lead a primary endosperm cell. And that is triploid in nature. So why it is triploid? Because the second male gamete, it is haploid, but the central cell is a diploid one. So when a haploid cell fuses with a diploid cell, we can get a triploid. So in this case, it is the primary endosperm cell. Okay, so this is the various structures of a particular flower, a mature flower. You can see what is the pistil, and then what is the other parts like the perianth, that is the sepal and calyx, everything. Then what is the stamen, then what is the anther. So inside that anther, microspores are present, and this particular one shows the longitudinal section of a flower, showing the growth of the pollen tube. So this is the pollen grain. Okay, so from the pollen grain, a pollen tube is developing. So this pollen tube enters into a particular structure called what? The ovule. So inside that ovule, this is the embryo sac. This particular part is the embryo sac. So inside that, we can see there is a important cell called the egg cell, and then the polar nuclei. It is otherwise known as central cell. The polar nuclei is otherwise known as central cell. Okay. So now one of the male gamete comes in the pollen tube, fuses with the egg, and the second male gamete is going to fuse with the central cell. So this leads to zygote, and that leads to the formation of primary endosperm cell. And the endosperm cells are normally nutritive in function. So they help the zygote to develop into embryo. So that is the main function of the endosperm. Not only that, the embryo at the time of germination inside a cell gets its nutrients from the endosperm only. Okay, so now I conclude this lecture. Say pollination is going to be followed by fertilization. So these both are responsible for the formation of food grains, vegetables, fruits, and the pulses. So we need the food grains either in the form of the cereals or pulses or millets, and also vegetables to get the vitamins and minerals, and also fruits also. So they give energy, as well as they give the protein, as well as they give the minerals and vitamins for our well-being. So we have to know about what is pollination and fertilization. Of course, all other processes are also very essential for the survival of a plant. But for the survival of the human beings, the foods, the vegetables, the fruits that we get from the plants are highly essential. So I wished to concentrate on this particular topic. Okay. And in the end, just I have a link for the quiz. So you can copy this link and you can attend the quiz, so that you can get an idea whether you understood this topic well or not. What is your understanding level? Based on 10 questions, you can check yourself. Okay. Finally, I wish to convey my courtesy to all these websites. So from them only I got the images. So I wish to thank all these people for their effortless photographs, and they put it in the common medium, so that it is highly helpful for us. Thank you.